Ahoy! And welcome to Manning Overboard, Happy Hour with Hotcakes and the Captain, a show about the good in liquid life,
where we talk about bars, bartending, and booze.
She's Hotcakes.
And he's the Captain.
Thanks for coming aboard. Now, let's go overboard. Right. Ahoy, and welcome to Manning Overboard, Happy Hour with Hotcakes and the Captain. I'm the Captain, Rich Manning, and with me as always is my lovely and talented wife, Heather Hotcakes.
Hi.
So, Hotcakes, what are we drinking today?
Well, as we do in every episode, we are drinking in honor of our guests. So for today, I made you a basic old-fashioned, but it's not so basic because it's actually made from a bourbon that was the bottle pick from the bar with which our guest abides by.
Yes, and not only that, it is a bottle of Jepson's bourbon. Now, if Jepson sounds familiar, yeah, it's the same company that makes Malort.
Who knew?
Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I tasted it before we got on straight, and it's actually really good.
And then for me,
yes,
I went down their Instagram pages because I couldn't find anything. I couldn't find anything online about cocktails that you had published, except for one news reel on the YouTubes. But everything was batched. So I went down the line and I found a cocktail called the Island of Waikiki, which was a mix of mint infused gin, watermelon, pomegranate, which we use as grenadine. And so there we have my beautiful tropical watermelon cocktail.
That looks lovely.
Okay, before we drink though,
yes,
introduce our guest.
All right, thank you, because I was about to drink this.
I know you were.
So today's guest is Bo Counts, owner of Pinpoint, a cocktail and pinball bar in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Yep, you heard me, Fayetteville, Arkansas. Don't let that fool you though. Bo is a total badass and arguably the city's unofficial mayor. You know, like what bartenders used to be back in the day for communities. Now, in 2017, Bo funneled his experience in event planning and art with a group called Artemis, and TV planning and film production. I think I got all that. So he was an entertainer, right? So he funneled all of that and a whole lot of pinball machines into Pinpoint, a barcade concept that emphasizes building communal experiences through popular cocktails and games. His passion for building a grown-up third space also makes him a bit of an educator, teaching Fayetteville how to drink and how to appreciate cocktail culture, and also taking his bar team to Tales of the Cocktail every year to learn more about the craft. Bo has also gained national recognition for his Nightmare on Block Street Halloween pop-up concept, where he turns his bar into an ambitious theme of House of Horrors. And it's pretty impressive. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but he and his bar are prime examples of why it's a mistake to dismiss secondary and tertiary markets, you know, and when it comes to cocktails. So I've talked too much. I'm really rambling a little bit. So let's drink. And let's introduce Bo. Bo, welcome to Manning Overboard.
Welcome to Manning Overboard.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Thank you. So glad to be here.
Yeah, so what
cheers.
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 Cheers in there. Mm-hmm. I had myself a little freezer Negroni here because I'm not near my bar, but you can pack a Negroni in a handy dandy frozen little flask and bring it down here so I can drink with you guys.
Oh, awesome! That's great.
You were not the first person to break out a frozen drink. We had a guest a couple of episodes back who busted out a frozen martini. He had a martini in his freezer, and he's like, "I know exactly what I'm drinking, and I'm pulling it out of the freezer door." I'm like,
they're perfect. They're perfect. Now I'm actually using a gin that's regional here. It's right out of Guthrie, Oklahoma, from Wanderfolk Spirits.
Nice.
They have a Garden Society gin. It's really wonderful stuff. And to what you said earlier, it's like, don't sleep on these secondary and tertiary markets. We're out here doing some really good stuff.
Wanderfolk. Is that the same group that does Same Old Moses bourbon?
That is, yeah.
That is, right down right. We've actually had
my
that,
neighbors.
Oklahoma City.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Colleagues in Oklahoma City too. Shout outs to my homies at Palo Santo and Later By. Those are great bar teams. Stephen Idlet, who runs Later By, actually is a Fayetteville alum. He used to be the bar manager at the bar next door to mine.
Oh, that's amazing.
So small world.
We've been to Palo Santo. That's a really solid bar.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
we have a theory that I think these days any city worth its weight is going to have a good cocktail program, and give me 36 hours and I can have a really good time and probably have a really good cocktail as well. And Oklahoma City was the first place where we really challenged that theory, and we can't wait to go back.
Yeah.
It delivers.
We genuinely can't wait to go back. So,
but this is what we're
you said something to me. You said something at the very beginning of the show that was really interesting, because you noted that it was difficult to find recipes that we've created, and there's a reason for that. And these second and tertiary markets are hard because we're not allowed technically by some of our liquor laws to be able to publish stuff into the public eye. Like, I can't put my menus online, like, legally, and show prices and things like that. There's a lot of scrutiny behind some of these archaic liquor laws in some of these smaller states, particularly in the Bible Belt. Sometimes it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. But, now that the cocktail scene has been getting bigger and bigger and bigger here, and also in some of these other markets, we're able to get away with a lot more and push those envelopes and go, come on, guys, this is just a really silly rule. If you want us to stay toe to toe with what's going on nationally, we got to be able to do this stuff,
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, because usually I do some research, and inevitably somebody somewhere has got at least a cocktail that's at the bar where you are working at and whatnot, and I can at least come up with something. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to go off my laurels. And it said watermelon, pomegranate, and the mint infused gin. And I'm like, okay, I think I can make something happen with that. And so, and it's delicious. That mint infused gin is fun.
Well, if you ever want any of my recipes, hit me up. We've got the whole, codex of ours. So happy to share.
No, but Bo, I'm glad we're here because we talked a lot about tertiary markets, and we love these secondary and tertiary markets. We really want to support them, and just with your background with entertainment, and you're in the Tillman TV, the film and TV production. Tell us a little bit about that. Tell us about how you went from TV and film production to owning a bar.
Hospitality. I mean, you think about it, after college and all through college, I worked originally when I fell in love with hospitality. I was a DJ. I was a club DJ. And, I don't want to date myself because in this industry, you want to stay as young as you can for as long as you can. But I was not unfamiliar with bars and hospitality. And through my work from Art Amiss, which you mentioned, it was again doing these immersive experiences for people through visual mediums. And what we were providing to the guests wasn't necessarily culinary, but it was feeding them through culture and thought and exploring different ideas. And then I got a desk job because I got my college degree, and I was like, well, that's what I'm supposed to do. And I hated it. I hated it so much.
Yep.
And that's when I ran into film. And film, again, is another form of entertainment. We're creating something for people to consume. And that feedback of, like, you put your soul into something and you hope that someone likes it. And then when you see that they do, you get that reward. And the problem with film is you're moving all the time. It's a nomadic lifestyle. And you're 3 weeks on, 4 weeks off, 2 weeks on, 1 week off. But the cool thing about it is I could work on the side. So I was picking up bartending things and learning more and more about the craft cocktail side of things, which there wasn't much of a scene here in Arkansas for. But in my travels with, I worked for Discovery Channel for a while, but in my travels, you get to go to all these bars, you get to go and get inspired by all these flavors and things that people are doing in other markets. And I go, why can't we do it here? And then I just decided to put my money where my mouth was, and took a backseat out of film, took my entire life savings and renovated this 108-year-old basement space downtown. And we've been there ever since. And now I'm opening up my second bar, which is very different than Pinpoint, but it's going to be open very soon, like actually this month. And we're really excited about that.
Great.
It's going to be in Bentonville right next door. But we have helped push the envelope and create a cocktail scene in an area that there really wasn't one. And we found that there was a demand. And so now, Northwest Arkansas has an incredible cocktail scene. And I'm so happy to know that, like, me and a few of my colleagues were at the forefront of pushing that into where it is now.
That's incredible. And you've done something incredible, Bo. You made me want to go to Fayetteville, Arkansas.
Yeah.
Legit.
We are going to test. We're not going to test our theory. We're going to run our theory, and we are going to come down. We're going to do 36 hours in Fayetteville.
You better.
Particularly during a certain time that we are going to get to a little bit later. But before we start talking about that incredible time, talk to me about why pinballs? Why the bar arcade mentality when you were opening up your space?
So it's really strange. I have a colleague of mine. He opened up a place called Arcadia Retrocade, and this was kind of at the forefront before the barcade thing became synonymous with every single city that you go to. Every city has a barcade now, right? And he did this retrocade, but he never wanted to do pinball. And I have a knack for tinkering, And when he opened this up, I would help him repair his old games, because I was in the film industry. I had a lot of downtime, and I would volunteer my time helping him restore his games and keeping his, business up and running. And I fell in love with it. And he never wanted pinball, but every time we would go look for games and there was an old pinball, I'd be like, I want that. I grew up kind of enjoying pinball and going, man, one day when I grow up, I'm gonna have my own pinball machine, and kind of like when Tom Hanks is in Big, and that's what his apartment looks like when he gets a paycheck, like that's me. And I was like, okay, well, I've got this pinball. And then when I had about 10 or 11, but when Pinpoint was coming online originally, it was not supposed to have pinball at all. There was supposed to be a kitchen down there. We were going to have small bites. It was going to be more of kind of like a lounge, think jazz club with no jazz, that kind of not a speakeasy, but that sort of environment vibe. However, city permitting and just budgeting really was getting tight, and we couldn't build a kitchen. So I have a 3,800 square foot bar, and I'm like, that's a lot of space.
Yeah.
And especially if there's no food, right? So I said, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And I go, I've got all these pinball machines, and pinball hadn't popped off yet. Let me be clear. Everyone thought I was crazy. And they're like, pinball? What? And I was like, look, I need something to fill the space with, but I'm very particular that I want this to be cocktail and adult driven. I don't want it to be like, remember the 80s? I want it to be very grown up, very elevated, but there's something to do. And to me, I think that the future of hospitality, and we've been seeing this trending a little bit, is that experiences are valuable to people. Now that the internet is so prominent and COVID put everybody in a cocktail codex, going, I can make these at home. People are learning about cocktails, but what is hard to teach and is hard to just like pull out of a playbook is experiences. And so I said, let's put these games in here to give people something to do that is not just drinking cocktails. And I have a very firm no screens policy. So there's no TVs in my bar. There's no video games in my bar.
Very cool.
It's analog. So pinball, and we have a couple of skee balls, but there's nothing with a TV screen. And it started to catch on, and that we still find ourselves being set apart from a lot of quote unquote barcades. I like to call myself a cocktail bar with pinball, or a pinball cocktail bar, because we don't have arcade games. And very much catered towards that adult cocktail experience. And I find that pinball is a very adult experience because kids, just physically, they are too big for children to play.
Sure.
And so it was one of those things that we pivoted, and it worked. And here we are, 7 or 8 years later, and people want us to do more locations, and it's been a ride.
That's awesome. And what's interesting is when I was doing some research on this, I found out that, and I'm sure you might know this already, but Seabourn, which was the last bar that Hospitalitarian opened in Red Hook, Brooklyn, the back of their room is the New York Pinball Museum.
Yeah. And
So,
in New York, like, square footage is at a premium. So anywhere that there's pinball in New York is a sacred and precious thing because they take up so much space. But you're right. Like, it was one of those things that people gravitate towards because it's something to do. But I find that pinball is, if there was a Mortal Kombat 3 in the corner, somebody's friend or girlfriend or mom or whatever is going to be like, I don't want to mess with that. And if there's a TV on the wall and the game's on or something, someone's going to watch it. And then someone else is going to pull their phone out. And, and then screens begat screens, and then no one's really interacting with each other. But that's why I love pinball, is because it's so interactive, and physics, everybody knows. Even if you don't understand how the game works, you can whack a ball and it bounces around.
Right.
That's just,
Right.
Yeah.
So everybody enjoys it.
That's great. Now,
well, I have a quick question. Is it still analog? The quarters are necessary to play?
We have our own tokens. Yeah, they got our
Nice.
logo on it and everything.
Fantastic. That's awesome.
That's fun.
Now, I heard you on another podcast talking about the history of pinball, and I know pinball kind of has a sordid history, and we'll talk. We'll let you talk about that in a moment. But how does that history kind of make a place like Pinpoint make sense as a cocktail bar that has pinball in it?
Well, and that's why I leaned into that adult cocktail experience, because if you know about pinball history, it was illegal for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And about the only places you would find them are like in strip clubs and mafia dens and gambling houses. And so they kind of had this sordid history of being, only played by unsavory ne'er-do-wells. And actually, I think it was as far as 2018, like Nebraska, it was illegal for children under the age of 18 to even play pinball.
Wow.
And, there's I want to say it was Mayor LaGuardia in New York at that time. He was going on raids and like pulling pinballs out into the street. And there's some famous pictures of him with sledgehammers, like beating pinballs and just dragging them in the street. And it was because of a very famous court ruling that did happen in New York that proved that pinball was actually a game of skill and not a game of chance, that then it was became legal to have them in New York, and then it started to follow suit through other states.
Yeah.
So very fascinating.
Yeah, there's a great documentary, and I can't remember the name of it, but I saw it a couple years ago, and it really talks about that New York case hearing and the people that were driving that. And I think it was a bar or restaurant owner that was in a constant battle, like sneaking in pinball machines into his back room and having the feds, the state police raid his place and take him out and put him back in and put him back out. It's really fascinating. I can't remember the name.
If you don't want to get bored enough to watch a documentary, but you still want to learn about this, there's a really great film. It's kind of it's a one of those based on a true story kind of movies, but it's called The Man Who Saved Pinball. Okay. And it's about
That's
the one
I'm talking about, yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really good. Very, very good.
It's pretty fascinating.
Okay, so you bring pinball in. You start making quality cocktails. Was there a challenge with the cocktail creation, with providing cocktails now at this? Yes, it was an adult establishment, but the idea of bringing cocktails, not just wanting to drink beer, not just wanting to do a shot, not just wanting to do a highball. How did the cocktail scene take off in Fayetteville?
That is the $1 million question. I'm so glad you asked it, because it's something that we still contend with to this day. Because the thing about, like, my philosophy of cocktails is I think everyone should be able to enjoy a cocktail. I think everybody should be able to appreciate, the sfumato or pasubio or something with a word that they've never heard of, or with an ingredient that they've never heard of. And it doesn't necessarily need to be at this place that has, gilded marble countertops and just the most intimate brass like railings and, all of this stuff that you see in some of the most amazing cocktail bars in the country. And I'm not dissing them at all.
Right.
But I do feel that sometimes those bars give a sort of perceived barrier to entry to where a regular person that might want to experience this wonderful, like, well-made cocktail is going to feel like they're not welcome there. Sure. And to me, I want to make high quality cocktails accessible to everyone. And that's where that educational part comes in. But the problem is, it's a double-edged sword, is for every customer whose mind we blow, there's always that customer that walks in and doesn't expect us to be able to make a good drink. And sometimes they won't take that chance because they go, oh, they got pinball machines in here. Like, how good can the drinks be? This is just a barcade. And so it's this weird dichotomy we have to juggle between. And, I think after about 7 years of being in business, people know now.
People
They've gotten the memo. But for a long time, and even if like that new customer that comes in, if they're traveling, they'll look at the menu and they're like hesitant because they're like, well, this isn't looking like every other cocktail bar I've been to. So should I trust the cocktail? And then if they read our reviews or if they talk to a friend, they're like, no, this is the place. These guys make the drinks. So it has been a challenge. And also being in a secondary and tertiary market like Arkansas, we're really low on the allocation lists. So some of those, like green chartreuse, good luck. A lot of allocated bourbons we're not going to see. Like Fortaleza tequila, I haven't even dreamed of a bottle of that in about 2 years. But for a person who's injected into the overall cocktail scene, like there are things that I want to get in this state. Like, I mean, I tell all my bartenders when we go to Tales, the first question you ask a person when you taste something that you love, are you available in Arkansas?
Right.
And I said, give them my card. And sometimes I have distributors here in the state that trust me and they trust my team's palate, and they will give us their cards to hand to these people to contact. And it's like, look, don't sleep on Arkansas. We do have a great scene. It's just the whole state only has about 3 million people in it, but we're a talented group of people.
Yeah. Right.
Now, do you do road trips where you go into like Texas and like go like the Specs Epicurial or something like that and just pick up bottles? Do you have a budget to do that where the allocations may not be able to
I absolutely would never, ever do that ever. And if I did that, it would be considered bootlegging.
Right.
So I would
never do that. I was going to say, I don't think that the laws in Arkansas allow those types of experiences to happen in bars.
I have never, ever considered doing that, nor do I do it on the regular. So, but that's a great question. There's some great liquor stores in Jane, Missouri, and then also over in McAlester, Oklahoma, as well as in Dallas, Texas. So.
And the reason,
not that I'd know, but I hear.
So you heard. So you've been told.
I've been told. Yeah. I've heard a lot of that stuff too. I've heard rumblings and rumors, and we can talk to our producer. Anyway, I bring that up though because you do this amazing thing, Bo, where every year during Tales of the Cocktail, you shut your bar down and take your team down to Tales so they can learn about the craft.
Yeah.
How did that start?
It's probably not my wisest financial decision I've ever made, but I do it. I do it every single year. And it's to me, there's a handful of different reasons. Number one, I love to make sure my staff loves this job. I think investing in your team as an owner operator is one of the most important things a restaurateur or bar owner could ever do. Invest in your team, like a full stop. It may not make sense on paper sometimes, but that's not always that you're playing the short game there.
Right.
The investing in your team is the long game. And yes, you'll probably get burned once or twice. You'll have a bad apple for sure. But for the most part, investing in your team means that the people are going to be happy working at your place, which translates to guest experience. They're going to stay with you longer. They are going to understand when times are tough and when times are good because you roll with the punches with them. Like we're in a seasonal market. We do have a university here. So a big percentage of our population dips in the summer. And so, a lot of times like, oh, tips are low. Sometimes bartenders are going to jump ship and go to another place and like, oh man, we're just not making this much money. But when you invest in your team, they're willing to like wait that dry season out with you and weather those storms with you. So with Tales, it takes them down there. They love it. They have a great time. They learn about stuff that is not happening in our market, and they can bring that knowledge back. And another fun thing is other bars in the area look at us, and their employees look at us, and they put pressure on their owners, and they go, "Well, Pinpoint takes their team to Tales. How come we don't get to go to Tales?"
Right.
And so, in a very weird nonverbal way, I'm able to put pressure on other bar owners to start investing in their teams.
Sure.
And which brings our bar community into a bigger, more unified community. And because I don't like competing with other bars, I want to make sure that we have a really rich, great community, a hospitality community here. And all of the industry folks know that. And when, I always start a group that's NWA takes Tales, whatever year it is, and anybody that's at another bar. Like this year, we had some people from Hardwater, which is a bar in Bentonville. They came down and they're like, Bo, Pinpoint, what do we do? How do we do Tales? And then we showed them all of the things. It's like, here's where you RSVP, get in our group chat. We'll take care of you. And they had an amazing time. And what that did was it laid more foundation between the different bars so that if somebody's at their bar and goes, hey, where do we go next? They're going to go, boom, go to Pinpoint and vice versa. And so you can kind of, we're serving all of our guests together. And I think that's, you can't buy that. You can't put a price tag on that.
No, I love that. And I love that I know I've seen at least 2 or 3 of your staff members the 3 years that I've been going and that we've met.
Yeah.
The same people are
Yeah.
coming, which means that you've now invested in them. They are staying with you. And that is, I mean, that there's proof in your pudding.
Yeah.
There's the proof in your pudding. You are, you're not just talking the talk, you're walking the walk, and it's now a proven method. And I think that's great.
Especially in a small market, we don't have an abundance of trained cocktail bartenders in Northwest Arkansas, right? And a lot of us know each other. And I think that businesses can't really and shouldn't even think about it like this to afford to just churn through bar teams. And I think if you've got a bartender that's been with you for a number of years, that person's going to get better and better and better. And the unfortunate side effect of this particular industry, and it's one of the reasons I take my team to Tails, is I want these people to look at this path as I do, as this can be a career.
Right.
Like
Absolutely.
spirits and cocktails is a career. And so many people dismiss it as like, oh, I just did that when I was in my 20s, or, oh man, yeah, I had so much fun bartending like in college. But they're like, well, what's your real job or what's next? And I think the spirits industry, from bartender to brand ambassador to working for a brand or doing what you guys do, this is the industry. And I think that you can make a career out of it. And by taking my team to Tails every year, I show them that yeah, you don't have to go get that desk job like I did and hate your life. You can stay in this thing that you love and like love your life. And that sounds so much better.
I love that. Yeah. That's fantastic.
That's great. Now, obviously, you're building that scene up in Fayetteville, Bo. Now, do you feel the need to address naysayers from larger cities? Like, if you go to New Orleans when you go to New Orleans for Tails, do you sense that there are some people from bigger markets go, oh, Fayetteville, what do they know?
Every year, and I mean, I hate saying that, Rich, but it's true. I mean, our team competed in Battle of the Brands this year. I mean, it was called Bar Olympics last year, and we did. They split us all up between different markets because they were all separated by markets. It was a Chicago team and a New York team and whatever. And we show up to play, and there's a bunch of us, and we're all in unison, like going, "Yeah, Arkansas!" And they go, "Well, we didn't really think about a Midwest team or an Arkansas team, so we're just going to put you on all these different teams." But they were so impressed that they're like, "Next year, we're doing it a little differently. We want you guys to come back, and we'll put you guys on your own team." And each team was a brand, and there was like 10 or 11 teams, and we were Team Mellocorn. But the way that we did it, there was a Brooklyn team, and there was a Manhattan team, and there was a San Francisco team, and a Portland team, and we kicked their asses.
Amazing.
And
Amazing. Well done.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible because the team unity was there, the skills were there, the knowledge was there. And one of the events we placed first in got thrown out, so we lost 50 points, but we still, even losing that win, we still came in third overall out of all the teams. And they were coming around, with mics, and they go, "So where are you guys from again?" And we go, "Arkansas." And like everybody's like, "Arkansas?" I'm like, "Yeah, don't sleep on us." So a lot of people, when I'm meeting brands and when I'm introducing myself to other bar professionals and other teams, sometimes, everybody's friendly. I'm not saying anybody has ever thrown shade, but I have gotten that sort of like, "Oh, Arkansas, okay." Like we don't know what we're doing just because we're in a small market. And what I've explained to people is because we're in a small market, we have to work 2 to 3 times harder to get recognition and to stand out and to be written in noticed in magazines, because we've got that extra barrier of people not expecting us to know what we're doing. And you take guys like Sean Traxler, who everybody knew him from Arkansas for a while. He's kind of taken a pause from the hospitality industry right now. You got guys like Stephen Idlet, who's running Later By in OKC. He's Fayetteville. We've got some amazing talent, but we really have to get cut through the fact that we're from Arkansas. It's funny, I've known people that have moved to another market or got a P.O. box in like Miami or LA to just say, "Hey, here's my mailing address, but I'm actually living in Fayetteville, but here's my mailing address is Miami."
Sure.
So people go like, "Oh yeah, okay, yeah, Miami bartender, we got it. And I don't think we should have to do that.
No,
I think
that's crazy. No.
Yeah.
That's no. You shouldn't have to.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to. It's I mean, it's one of the things that we push all the time. You know that we are champions of the middle. We are champions of the flyover, and it's one of the things that we push all the time. And the recognition is coming. It's slowly coming out, but it's coming out in pockets that you would expect. Unfortunately, Arkansas is just not that pocket that you would expect yet.
Yeah, because you're the tertiary market. I mean, we're seeing stuff at secondary markets. Like the first thing I think of is Cobra in Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah,
they've gotten some huge heat in the last year and a half.
Even I was thinking more like Denver.
Oh, Denver
and
as
Phoenix.
Well. Yeah, Denver, Phoenix, yeah. But those took years to develop as well, and now everybody's like, "Oh, of course." But with a place like Fayetteville, tertiary market, particularly when you have all these weird, wackadoo laws that work against your favor.
What doesn't kill us is that Nietzsche stuff, right? What doesn't kill us makes us stronger.
Yeah.
And with constraint breeds innovation.
Correct.
They say.
Yes.
And we, one of the weird things about our market is while our metro is only about 500,000 people, the home office of Walmart is here in our backyard, like one of the biggest companies on the planet, and then the home office of Tyson Foods. So if you've ever thought about a chicken in your life, it comes from here.
Yes,
and,
exactly.
So we have this very weird, uniquely small market that has a unbelievably global impact, and which puts people in the hospitality industry under a lot of scrutiny because we don't have access to the supply chain and the tools and the talent that we need, but we have people that work here that are being flown in from all over the world that live here and maybe doing business here that have pallets that are up here, and that's what they're used to, and we have to be able to provide and deliver. And so it being we're only 500,000 people, but we're working on and serving world-class guests, and it's such a strange thing, and to not be noticed or be able to get brand recognition or get actual brands to come and give me the ingredients that I need.
Right.
Yeah, it makes it really, really tough. I remember one year I was doing a cocktail that was in our, I think it was in one of our Christmas events, and I ended up buying every bottle of Galliano in the entire state of Arkansas, all of it. And I needed more. I was like, this cocktail is selling so well, and I don't want to 86 this drink, but my God, can I get a bottle of Galliano? So I had reps that were pulling them from liquor store shelves in Little Rock and sending them to me because I'm like, I need it. They're like, wait, the tall yellow one you actually want? And I go, yes, that one.
That one. I'm going to go through the whole thing. I promise. Yeah. I promise.
You just made me think of something, Bo, when you said Walmart and Tyson. I know Rochester, New York is the home of Kodak and Xerox and a couple other large companies. And they just, a few years ago, created their Rochester cocktail revival. And that's started generating a cult following. Have you ever thought of doing something similar in Fayetteville?
We're actually kind of working on something like that. We're a handful of the bars here. Walmart actually has their own kind of sub company called Rope Swing. It's a hospitality group, and they actually have been building their own bars and restaurants. And that's a whole nother thing about when corporations try to build something that's based off passion and creativity of individuals. That's a whole nother podcast probably, but
that's a whole other discussion.
It's a whole other discussion. But there are amazing talent that works there, and a lot of us are trying to get something off the ground that is about our industry here and about what we can do both culinarily and through cocktails and showcase that. I mean, we have several James Beard nominated chefs that are in the area, and there's not really. There are things like that for the spirits industry, but they're definitely not paying attention to Arkansas right now. We're going to try and change that.
Have you done any pop-ups? Have you done any bar takeovers or crossovers with pinball?
I have wanted to. We've done them here internally in the state, but again, it goes back to that thing when you approach other bars. And you're like, yeah, what's your bar? We've never really heard of Fayetteville. And at first they're like, I don't know if we want you to come take over our bar. We've never heard of it. And it becomes tough. I know that Vault, who's my neighboring bar here that Sean Traxler used to manage, they did a pop-up at Nickel City in
Okay.
Austin, and that's a great place, and we know a lot of those Nickel City guys, and we've been trying to find some of those partnering bars. I was just talking to the folks over at the Gin Room. They're great about me coming in because I'm a big gin head and doing some guest shifts there. But again, it comes into that dispelling the sort of initial like, Arkansas, are you serious?
Right.
Like, mm,
Yeah.
they're like, oh, well, you need us more than we need you. But we're working on it. And we've traded and done like pop-ups around here in the state. Like I've done some stuff in Little Rock and some stuff, we've popped back and forth in the neighborhood, but it's coming, hopefully.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Good. So,
And
okay.
podcasts
So,
like this can help me do it.
right?
Hopefully, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, doing our research, we saw that you were on the board for non-alcoholic beverage trend, and we were on board with the non-alcoholic trend before the pandemic. Before it,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, obviously after the pandemic, it has really taken off. But you were on board even way before that. How do you stay abreast to the trends? How do you keep yourself making sure that you're not 6 months, 9 months, a year and a half behind the trends, but that you're staying right with them?
Yeah, what's really funny is I'm always 6-9 months to a year ahead of trends, which is often at just as worse, I think.
Okay.
Because when you're ahead of trends, everyone's like, I've never heard of that. Well, like that was pinball. I was ahead of the pinball trend. And
Sure.
then thanks to COVID, pinball blew up. Craft frozen cocktails. That's why me and old Mr. Moberly, we're homies, because I've been a frozen cocktail nerd for a long time. But in 2017, 2018, frozen cocktails were a bad word, and I was doing like craft frozen cocktails, and people were like, "Wait a minute, you mean like not a frozen margarita?" I'm like, "No, dude, this is a frozen like Bloody Mary. Check it out." And they're like, "Oh,
wow.
God, no!"
Cool.
And frozen Negronis, frozen Aperol spritzes. I mean, I was doing Dole Whip before people cared about the one at Disney. And, but it took a while. And with the non-alcoholic thing, I mean, I'm sitting here. I was the first bar in Arkansas to serve Underbergs and just have them on my shelf. And now everybody's like, hell yeah, Underberg. And I'm like, yeah, where were you 6 years ago when I was trying to get you to drink? And so, with the non-alcoholic thing, because I love a space that's made for experience and not necessarily centered around drinking, I thought non-alcoholic cocktails were going to be this thing that were going to be important for creating like lasting third spaces, because third spaces are kind of in jeopardy right now.
Absolutely, 100%.
Rent's high, insurance is high, labor's high. And then, young people are drinking less, or they're choosing experiences over drinking. And that's like, well, if we can continue to give them those experiences and show them there are reasons that aren't alcoholic, we should be onto something. So every January for the past several years, our whole menu is non-alcoholic. Wow. It's just called our dry January menu. And I mean, we'll still make you a classic cocktail if that's what you want, but we don't have any house cocktails. Our frozens are non-alcoholic. It's just dry January menu. And it's all either NA spirits. We had THC beverages for a while, but then Arkansas just made those illegal literally this month. So that's going to be a fun thing to figure out. But yes, I spend a lot of time kind of observing what's going on and just using my gut and saying like, dude, this is cool. I don't want to wait for anybody else to tell me it's cool. Hypnotic is cool. I've been putting Hypnotic in my cocktails since I opened. And now people are like going, heck yeah, Hypnotic. Like I got Hypnotic glasses this year for the first time ever at Tales. I'm like, yay, Hypnotic. So it's fun to see when you hedge your bet on something and then it comes to being popular in the zeitgeist and you've already got a plan. You're like, yeah, well, we already know how to do this. And it's just an easy, smooth rollout.
I love that.
That's
I love
awesome.
that. All right. Changing topics ever so slightly to the thing that we have been told you do the best. Let's talk about Nightmare on Block Street.
Let's do it.
How did it start? How do you keep it fresh? I mean, what like? Well, tell people about it in general. Just Nightmare on Block Street.
Nightmare on Block Street. Our bar is on Block Street. It seemed like an obvious choice. It actually originally was called the Beatbox Halloween Dance Party. And my DJ name was Beatbox, spelled Beat, B-E-A-T, B-A-C-H-S, like the composer.
Okay.
Yes.
And every year I would do this weekend-long Halloween dance party. And when I was a kid, I was a home haunter, right? We would do the decorating the yard, building the props. I mean, now people can go to Home Depot and buy 12-foot skeletons. But back then, we had to make that shit.
Yeah.
And can I say that on as a PG
Oh,
podcast?
yeah, totally.
Absolutely.
And so, I took that, and when I was like early into college, I was helping design haunted houses for like the United Way and different charities. And then when I was doing the DJing thing and doing all those event promotions and stuff, the Halloween event was something that, I want to say 2002 or 3 was like the first of the Beatbox Halloween dance parties.
Okay.
And every year I would take everything that I knew about like scene building and prop building and go, well, why can't we just apply this to a dance party? Because when I was a kid, those movies that you would see where everybody goes to the costume party and everybody's dressed up and everybody's having a good time.
Yeah.
I go, man, when I grow up, I want to go to that.
Right.
And then when I was like a teenager, I was looking for that house party that I saw on like the Roseanne Halloween special.
Oh my gosh,
like,
those are the best.
They were the best.
They
and I
were
was like, well,
awesome.
wait, nobody actually does that. And I go, well, maybe it's just because I'm in high school. And I'm like, well, when I get to college, that's where the like crazy Halloween.
Yeah.
So when I was in college, I was a freshman. I was looking around. I was like, well, maybe it's because I'm not 21. When I turn 21 next year, maybe it's the bars. Maybe the bars are the ones that are doing it. And they weren't. And I'm like, well, shit, is this only in TV? And I said, well, I guess I'm going to have to do it. And so from that point on, I would do these Halloween parties where I would take all of this stuff from changing space and making spooky haunted houses and turning it into a party. And those got so big that when I opened up my own bar, I was like, well, since I don't necessarily have to take it down, why don't I just leave it up and do this longer? Because Halloween, spooky season now is more people have adopted the idea of spooky season. But that was me for a long time. I'm just like, hey, dude, weather changed on September 5th. I'm ready. Let's carve pumpkin.
Ready for Halloween. Let's go.
And so I took a gamble along many years ago and said, well, let's just do a full throttle Halloween bar from the first Friday, which is usually in September, so September 26th this year, all the way to Halloween night. And we found, especially during COVID, that this was a recipe. This worked. And now we're seeing things like the girls that do Black Lagoon, the success of Miracle, like all of these things are really taking off. But what we do is we take it and we get so immersive with it. And, we're talking like theatrical level lighting and animatronics and just like vignette scenes that we build to where everywhere you sit, I want that person to feel like they're in, the Stranger Things and there's a Demogorgon coming out of a portal right next to them, or you're in the Nostromo from Aliens, and then there's like a xenomorph that's like dripping spit on your face, and then every now and again like gas goes in your face and the sirens go. So it's interactive, and it has just turned into this crazy event that is now spilled into Christmas. And now we're starting another one called Lost Souls, which I've got one of our Lost Souls shirts right here, which is like a spooky haunted tiki thing that we're doing for the entire month of April. So yeah, it's just grown.
That's amazing.
That's awesome. I know one of the things I saw when you shared photos, Bo, with me last year was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre room that you had, where you decked out a corner of your bar that looked like 1974, and you had like cow bones hanging up, didn't you?
Yeah. So one of the bonuses of being in Arkansas is you probably have a homie that has a cattle farm. And so I did. And so several months in advance, I told my buddy Logan, shout outs to Logan, I said, hey man, weird request. When you're out on the farm for the next several months, will you collect any cow bones that you find for me and just leave them out in the sun and let them bleach and let them like whatever? And he's like, why? And I go, I'm going to decorate the bar with them. He goes, is that health code compliant? I was like, so as soon as we're going to bleach them, we're going to hydrogen peroxide them, it's going to be fine. So I would, I'd go through, and this is the level of detail we do. I have 5 people on my team. It's me and 5 others, and we'll we'll watch the movie and we'll find different elements and then we'll recreate them, and kind of like taking the people, like the love that people have for cosplay, but do it towards prop building. So we were making the stuff that you'd see in the movie out of real bones and out of these things, so that realism level is pushed up to the nth degree. So when that customer sits down, and we actually had an old console television. I mean, because, I have a thing for old TVs here, if you haven't noticed, but an old actually wooden console television that was playing Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So for those people that didn't know what this was, they could look in there and they'd see the stuff on the screen, but then they'd look up and they'd see the same thing surrounded by them. And it just takes that immersion to the nth.
Is that what we call meta?
It's very meta.
Very meta.
Very
So
meta.
wild though, so cool. No,
but to your question, like, how do we keep it fresh? Like, we have to think about what's going on. I've been looking at the movie calendar, and there's a new Conjuring movie that's going to be dropping. So I'm doing a Conjuring scene to get, like, as that's popular, it will have just come out. So we will have a scene that's all Conjuring. One year when Netflix, or maybe it was Hulu, did a Hellraiser reboot, we made sure to do a Hellraiser scene. When the Candyman remake came out, we had a Candyman scene. So we wanted to make sure that we were on board with what was trending in horror, because horror is always changing. You have your classics like your Jason, your Freddy's, and things like that. They're always going to be evergreen. But the rest, we do 11 different scenes and every year. So I'm like, oh my God, I got to figure out something that's going to resonate. And I don't want people to walk into a scene and be like, what's this supposed to be? Yeah. But
Gotcha.
if you follow those trends, and we shake it up every year. I mean, some will stay. Our Harry Potter scene is just so freaking popular, despite how crazy J.K. Rowling might be. People love wizards. So we'll do that. We'll change it up. We always try to keep it fresh.
Have you watched Sinners yet?
Oh my God, it's so good.
It was so good.
Yeah.
Like, just one of the
so
best.
Good.
So good. Like,
and that made me think, like, oh my gosh, if you do a Sinners like thing in your bar or for Night on our Broad Street West, I mean, that might be enough to get us on the plane.
And when you're doing scene building, it's really interesting, because there are certain scenes, like, I've never done Child's Play, which, everybody knows Chucky and all that stuff. And the reason I've never done it is because most people only think of that movie and they go, well, Chucky, I know Chucky, but what else do you know that's happening in the movie? Yeah. So when you're creating a space, like, how do you make visual references and cues to build that space that's more than just that Chucky doll? Sure. So, when we did an exorcism booth, I'm like, well, not everybody knows the movie Exorcist. And we had Reagan, who was like floating above the table and her head would rotate. It was really cool. But I'm like, okay, well, what else do we need? And it's like, okay, we got rosaries and we've got Bibles and we've got these things. We got a lamp that's floating and changing, but we want to make it look like a child's bedroom. And it's like all these things that we can come together to make people feel like, oh yeah, this definitely is The Exorcist. I've never done a Michael Myers Halloween booth, because how do you decorate a place to look like Haddonfield, Illinois?
Right.
You know, other than having Michael Myers standing there, how do you do it? And so I've never done it. And people are like, why don't you do a Halloween booth? And I go, if you can give me one frame of reference from that movie that's not that guy's mask, then I'll do it.
Right.
But you have to really put a lot of thought into it to find ways to change space.
Oh, that's genius. I mean, seriously, it's like, that's why, like, I wanted to get you and the ladies from Black Lagoon on the same page, because I think you guys would meet each other and talk for like 5 hours.
We might just take over the world.
I think so.
I wouldn't be mad about that.
I would love that.
I wouldn't be mad about that. All right. So last official question. Do you have any advice on how young, ambitious bartending professionals can build a successful cocktail community in whatever market they're in? Like, if you had to give one piece of advice, what would it be?
Ooh, okay. That's a big question for one piece of advice. I think it reminds me of my time in the film industry and how I became successful in the film industry. And it was knowing when to be seen and be heard, and knowing when to stop and listen and pay attention. You know, and I think a lot of young bartenders, they're so eager to say, look what I made. Oh yeah, I'm a bartender. Here, listen to me. Look at this. Look at this. And they don't necessarily know when to, like, stop, put the ego in check just a minute, listen to someone who might have a lot more experience than them, and then make those connections. I call it on set, it's called just being cool. You know, I think everybody wants to like. Have you seen the Fernet swag meme where it's like, you know, the steps to being a bartender and they're skipping all these steps and
Yeah.
it's like just Fernet swag. Well, you know, I think to young bartenders, it's like get in the grind a little bit and understand that you're not going to be this rock star bartender right out the gate,
Yeah.
and then that's okay. And to network and to make friends and just you never ever ever know who you're gonna meet. You never know where they're gonna come back into your life, and just because maybe they're from a market that you don't know, or maybe they're not dressed in cool swag or whatever, you don't know if that person might be, you know, the flavor scientist for Beam Suntory. Shout outs to my buddy like Edwin, like, and those guys. You know, you just need to be humble, always have hunger for the industry, and like don't stay at a job that's toxic. Like get out of there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Move around. There will be other opportunities, and just make friends in your community. Don't compete with your community. Pay attention, make friends, don't compete. I think those are just the three. Just build community. Like build a community. That's what this is.
Yeah.
You know, that's how we met. You know, it's just building community and being cool. Like my two favorite humans on the planet that don't exist, and it's one of my favorite movies, and I've got a tattoo that represents, you know, the coolness of this. It's Bill S. Preston Esquire and Ted Theodore Logan, and it's just be excellent to each other and party on, dudes.
Yeah.
Like that's it.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
I love it.
No, that works, and I really think that really is what, you know, I referenced you as the unofficial mayor of Fayetteville. I kind of think that's why I gave you that title, really, just because like you are all about building community and building that third space and really being that gathering point for the cool people to just hang out and just be themselves and be comfortable.
Yeah.
And maybe
for your neighborhoods, like third spaces and neighborhoods are so important, and they're under attack right now.
They
and
are
I think,
under attack.
Absolutely.
you know, bar and hospitality leaders, I don't think we realize, and a lot of people don't realize how much power we have as hospitality professionals, because those people that make those decisions, we make their food, we make their drinks, we make their days better. And if you get into a position where, you know, they might respect your opinion more than you think, and I think that people should use their voice and be more active and be more community engaged, and because we are in the business of building communities, and we should use that power to sculpt the communities we want to see.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's great. No.
Absolutely.
Well,
That being said,
yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say, we now are officially coming to the end of our interview time.
Last call, if you will.
fast.
To the last call.
However,
But we do on the show, we do what we call our last call questions, because we want to encourage people to go to the places, see the people that we talk to.
Go to Fayetteville, for God's
Go
sake.
to Fayetteville.
Because you'll
Come on
see
down.
some cool shit.
But if we were there at Fayetteville and it was happy hour, or if it was last call and it was the first time in our city, we as tourists would have questions for you. So these are the questions that I would ask a bartender at the end of my time with them, to get to know the city better and to get to know the things that we should do. So that being said, I am new to the city. After a cocktail here, where should I go next for my next good cocktail?
You'd have to go to Maxine's Tap Room.
Yeah.
That's an incredible bar. It's been written up in Esquire as one of the best bars in the Midwest. Incredible cocktail program. The bar itself has been there for over 75 years. One of the first cocktail forward bars in Arkansas. A lovely staff owned by some lovely humans, and that would be my second recommendation. Just after Pinpoint, go check out Maxine's.
Fantastic.
Cool.
All right, who's got the best burger in town?
Whoa. Oh my God. Okay. Well, that one's an intense one. There's two. Everyone's going to tell you Hugo's, but that's not true. And they're my neighbors. I love Hugo's, but the Arts Place burger, it's one of the few places where you can smoke a cigarette and eat a hamburger at the exact same time. They're grandfathered in. I don't know how they do it, but their hog burger is legendary. But if you're not in the mood for cigarettes, there is another kind of like billiards and bar on the other side of town. It's in a strip mall. It's called Morano's, and they make it's on the menu. It's called the best burger in Fayetteville, and they aren't kidding.
All right.
Fantastic.
All right. If I have an afternoon to kill, what should I do in your city?
I would say a whole afternoon to kill. We have the Crystal Bridges Museum of American Art. It is one of the nicest museums in the country for American art. It's about 15 minutes that way. It's lovely. It's world-class architecture, world-class art. Of course, mostly funded by the Walton family from Walmart, but you're going to see things that you won't see anywhere else in the world. And it's an amazing time. And the museum is nestled in the woods there, right into the Ozarks. It's breathtaking.
Fantastic.
What is one place where I should go eat in your city?
Atlas, the restaurant. Chef Elliott is a wizard. He's traveled all over the world. He's a young guy too. He's an old colleague. Any chef that when they make 5, Michelin star level. I mean, he doesn't have a star, but there's not a Michelin rating in Arkansas.
Right, yeah.
He makes world-class food, but when he gets off work, he's cracking a Miller High Life with the rest of them. Like this is how it's supposed to be. But the menu changes all the time. He uses a lot of local ingredients. We have 3 James Beard nominated chefs in our area, but Atlas, the restaurant, it's in downtown Fayetteville. It's incredible. I'd say second to that would be Wren, which is Chef Matt Cooper, and it's on his farm, and everything is directly farm to table.
Oh, fun.
Love that.
All right. And last question, where am I going for a beer and a shot to close out the night?
Ooh, beer and a shot. Let's see. There is a really cool dive bar called Riley's. There's a lot of places to get a beer and a shot, but Riley's would be that's the diviest of the dive bars. But I might want to, if you're into smoke, if you want a good cigarette bar, Roger's Rec. That place again has been there for years and years and years and years. Like grandparents were going there, and it feels like it. It's like walking back in time, and it's every bit of grime has every bit of character attached to it as well. And if you've never been, you're like, whoa, this is cool.
Amazing.
That's phenomenal. Again, Bo, you're making me want to go to Fayetteville.
You should.
I mean, you're a magician, sir. So
I try.
But seriously though, Bo, thank you so much for joining us here for the Manning Overboard. It was such a thrill to have you. I mean, and thank you for the recommendation of the Jepson's bourbon. You're right.
So tell me what you thought. Like that was a barrel-proof bourbon. That's 126.
It's legit. It's really delicious. It has a really nice, like, subtle cocoa note on the back end.
It will sneak up on you. So that bottle comes with a disclaimer, like be careful because you will find yourself drinking that whole thing, and it is barrel proof and it will knock you out. But it's so warming, but it doesn't burn. It doesn't give you that like Kentucky hug or whatever that they talk about. It's just, man, I was really impressed with that barrel. And shout outs to Ty over those guys over at Jepson's. They're doing stuff like Malort. Of course, everybody knows now. It's hilarious. I was the guy that helped to get it in Arkansas, but don't sleep on their bourbon program. The Jepson's bourbon is quite nice.
I can confirm on that. So Bo, hope you had as much fun as we had talking to you. If people want to find you on the socials, where should they look?
So our bars, my main bar Pinpoint is Pinpoint Fayar, Fayetteville, Arkansas. My personal is Beatbox, BEATBACHS. You can find us there on Instagram. Our website's pinpointfayetteville.com. But we love the Instagram. That's where it seems like everything happens. So you can check us out there.
Absolutely. And remember, speaking of Instagram, you can find us on Manning Overboard on Instagram, or if you have a comment or question, you can shoot us a message at manningoverboard@gmail.com. Thank you all for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you on our next happy hour. Cheers.
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 Manning Overboard, Happy Hour with Hotcakes and the Captain is produced and distributed by EatsDrinksTV,
a service of the nonprofit Center for Culinary Culture, home of the cocktail collection,
the Center for Culinary Culture,
telling the story of food and drink, one taste at a time.